You're listening to Countercurrent, the podcast about business, family, and freedom. Hosted by Aaron Smith and Jack Hudson.
We are back for episode number 13. Lucky number 13. Almost done with the first season, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. 2 more episodes for those of you listening. We're going to have 15 episodes this season. Then we'll be on a little break and a lot of exciting stuff next season.
Yeah, we planned a little bit of next season earlier today where we were talking through some fun guests that we're going to have. We're going to pivot on a few of our most interactive pieces and figure out how to bring some more listener feedback into what we do and make it a little bit more interactive. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to launch that over the summer, which will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you have anything you want to see in season 2, let us know. We're always taking feedback wherever we can. But I think, this leads us into our hot take for the day. And I've done this hot take as an icebreaker many times before. What are the best and worst holidays? My hot take is that I really love the 4th of July and Thanksgiving.
Why?
It's the memories associated with it, right?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, the food is superior to Christmas. I just don't want to hear it.
Absolutely.
Everybody tries a little bit harder, and it's nice to see everybody without some associated value with it. Mm-hmm. Christmas is just all the little kids waiting to open gifts, and I'm guilty of that. I get so excited for Christmas. Used to, I could not help but constantly ask what I was getting. I'm still kind of bad at it, but I like Thanksgiving. It's just about being together. Love that. 4th of July, great memories. My cousin throws a massive 4th of July party. This year he's taking off. Scott, we will miss you. But he spends a lot of money on fireworks and has an hour-long fireworks show that goes along with a music bed that he makes himself that cuts between famous presidential and political speeches and USA theme songs.
Wow.
It is over the top. I told him after we lived in DC that I thought his fireworks show was better than the National Malls.
Look at that.
It's out of this world.
Those are both really good. I am it's a hill that I will die on unnecessarily. The people that start celebrating Christmas before Thanksgiving is just abhorrent to me. I'm not gonna do it. Thanksgiving is a holiday about food, right? Why are we bringing Santa into the conversation before Thanksgiving? So I'm firmly in the camp of pro Thanksgiving. I also love 4th of July. As somebody with 2 kids and 2 dogs, the fireworks tend to drive our house a little crazy. Yes. Yeah. I was one that in my 20s was not necessarily as respectful of my neighbors as I should have been. But it's, I see a different side of it now that we have kids. Mm-hmm. But if we had a presidential theme song that was going along with our fireworks celebration, I think it would be a little bit different. This one's a new one, one of my favorite ones, and this isn't even necessarily a holiday, but this year I purposefully tried to take off the week in between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh yeah.
And it was great. It's the most worthless time of the year.
Oh.
Right? Because no one's trying to get something done.
No.
Most of our clients kind of take a break too. The only ones that are really active around that time are ones that are either in crisis unnecessarily or, they're trying to end the year.
Right.
But I love it because it's kind of a slow time of year.
So which holiday are you getting rid of? Because so far this is not a hot take.
No,
we're we love these holidays.
I don't know. 4th of July I'm not taking away 4th of July, but there are some people that are very pro firework. I am pro firework on the 4th of July, around the 4th of July. In Noblesville, our ordinance says that you can set off fireworks for the week surrounding the 4th of July.
Yeah.
What drives me crazy are the ones that are it's Labor Day, so we're going to set off fireworks. No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't care for Halloween. Never have. Get rid of it. It's just
it's free candy.
Yeah, but it's like, let's all get scared together.
Yeah.
No. I'd rather be happy together.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day is probably it for me. I celebrated enough St. Patrick's Days in my 20s for the rest of my life, so I'd be fine getting rid of that one.
Yeah. I don't blame you for that. I could do without that, but I also know some people that are diehard St. Patrick's Day celebrators, but I've never done it the right way. Like I need to go downtown and do the whole thing.
Correct. And I guess New Year's Eve is another one that I'm like neither here nor there on. It's fine. It's great. Like I would absolutely never go to Times Square for New Year's Eve.
Oh,
like,
I would.
Like the people that wear diapers.
Yeah, that's obnoxious.
No.
Yeah.
Like I already don't like crowds, to then be trapped somewhere where like you got to pee yourself and then you don't know where food is coming from. Like that's
and
that's
then you
stressful.
hope Ryan Seacrest walks by you.
Yeah.
For 15 hours.
No, it's just a little too much.
See, I'm like, I think New Year's Day is a little obnoxious. I get New Year's Eve. I get celebrating into the night. And then the next day, though, it's like, great. There's a new calendar.
Yeah.
But you did all the partying the night before. Why does the whole world stop for the day?
It's true. Isn't it Boxing Day? No, that's in Canada. That's the day after Christmas, I think.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
I just remember seeing it on the calendar when we were little.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, what drives me crazy, and this is like maybe a broader way to address what we're talking about. The whole like national day of.
Oh, too many days.
Yes.
Cut all the days.
That I am not in favor of that. And actually, from like a comms perspective, I think there are way too many businesses that jump onto that bandwagon
every single time.
And they're like, there was an elected official in Indiana this week that put out a release about it's a National Odometer Day. No,
it's not.
Absolutely not.
It's not in my house.
No, like what is that? What does that mean? No, we're not doing that. And I think that it's very inauthentic, to use an Aaron Smith buzzword, to tap onto those days and months and all that. So I'm actually pretty pro the holidays that we have, but we don't need to tack more on.
No, I don't like all the national days and weeks and months and too much. Too much. Scale it back.
Yes.
Yep. We're gonna start running ads. Cut the days. Cut the days.
Put it before Congress. Please just take these away.
Yeah. That's right. Everyone write your congressperson.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, today we are going to talk about the comparison trap, how in business a lot of times you will compare yourself to another business and you need to be hitting certain milestones, or you need to structure your organization one day, or your routine needs to look just like this routine. And I think that is so easy to fall into, especially when you're just getting started and thinking, oh, I should just copy this person. Clearly they've done it right because they can afford to live, right?
Yep.
Where have you fallen into that?
Well, and I think that just to be upfront about it, we talked about imposter syndrome. And I think that when Jack and I were talking about this, it is a little different than imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is, how you look at yourself. But I think it's, as a business owner, it's really hard to not look at another business and see like, okay, what are they doing well? What are they not? And then how do I take that into account for what I'm doing? We've talked about it before, but different mentors have been really important to me. And so I try to glean from their businesses, what they're doing well. But I always have to remind myself that like, just because they did it a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that I would be successful doing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I've seen people fall into the traps of trying to replicate something that someone else has done, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, well, and I think it's tempting to just say, oh, that works for them, it'll work for me. But you also have to acknowledge the fact that maybe it works for them and that's why it won't work for you.
Yep.
Because they're a different person, or they're targeting a different thing, or they're in a different industry.
Or they have different relationships that they were able to utilize to get there.
Yeah, or their sales pipeline works different than yours. Like Emily and I have a highly relational business is how we get a lot of our business comes just through relationships and being in a room and asking for referrals and that sort of thing. And I told her, I was like, what do you think would happen if we just dropped some money on some Facebook advertising? And we're like, are those the jobs that we'd wind up wanting?
Yep.
Right. And just because it works for somebody else, and I'm sure that maybe we'd get a few really good leads and get an ROI at some level. I don't think that that's what makes us us. And I don't think that that's how we excel. And there's people that are targeting more to the masses for content development that works for, but that's not something we need to do. And I also have like the way people just structure their back end of their business. Here's how we, do start to finish workflow on things. That's something too that I watch other people and I'm like, wow, we could really stand to upgrade. But I've tried that software and that didn't work for me, right? So it's like I really admire how dedicated they are to their processes and procedures, but it's still also, what will work for us, and sometimes that just takes a while to figure out.
It does, and I think that's something that I've tried to implement in my own business too, is figuring out like some tips and tricks that other people have brought into play, but then also how to make it my own too. There's one of my business partners loves the BD side of things. I love more of the operational side. BD is business development for people that aren't
thinking in those terms.
Thinking in those terms. And I'm very much more on the operational side. If I tried to implement things that he does in his business for mine, it would not work because he and I are wired differently, very differently. But at the same time, like, he does not think operationally. And so if he tried to do that, it would be like pushing against the grain. The grain, right? And so that's what I've tried to figure out, and something that I've challenged my team with is I want to find the things that I am best at and figure out how to offload the other things. Not because I don't want to do them, but because if I can concentrate on doing the 80% that I'm really good at and get somebody else that can do the 20% really well, how can I take on some of their slack so that we can better operate as a team? And I think that's where, from a comparison standpoint, if you just look from the outside in and see somebody else's success or failures and try to replicate or mitigate that, you're not going to see the full picture ever.
Well, and I think it's important to understand that you can't be everything. It's a huge one, because a lot of times you immediately jump to, what's the biggest business I want to be like one day?
What's an example for you?
So there's a bunch of massive DC firms, right? And they're doing 10x the services we are. They're also charging 10x the price sometimes. Or, we were just talking about the biggest ad agencies, and Ogilvy is like the biggest, the famous one. David Ogilvy was the greatest ad maker of all time. Going to their website, they have offices all over the world. They do, Coca-Cola, Dove, just like you go through their website and it's everybody, and that's great. But I don't aspire to be that anymore. Right. Or even just in our niche, I don't aspire to be that. We fill a really unique market gap that not that many people are doing. I don't know of anybody else that has turned it into a business out of the gap we fill, and we can fill a gap for those people, or going direct to client and not through the middleman. Either way, we're happy to do that and keep filling that gap, and sure, our services will probably expand or change. I mean, they change from month to month on, hey, we should tweak how we do this, or next time we do X service, let's do this a little bit differently. And I think that's really important. But I think it takes a few years of being independent and being able to fund your own life before you can say, I'm not going to try to be those people anymore. Because this is working, and it's working for us, and we're on a good growth path. And sure, we'll see something that we want to implement on the back end, but what we give to our client is unique, and we want to keep it unique and not try to be somebody else.
I just thought of somebody who actually I want to bring on next season as a guest. Kelly and Lindsay McVeigh run the Peony Festival here in Noblesville. And when they started, there were a ton of armchair quarterbacks that were telling them how they should run their festival. And what I was most struck by was Kelly has this vision, and has always had this vision, that for those of you who don't know, the Peony Festival is in its 5th year. It's a celebration of the state flower in Indiana, the peony. And when Kelly started, she's always had a passion for flowers and floral arrangements. And she wanted to do something special for the peony. And so the first year, she said, I want to make Seminary Park, which is a park here in Noblesville, I want to make Seminary Park look like a European market threw up in it. That there's just flowers everywhere. It's super cute. It's very intentional with the way that it's laid out. And there were lots of people that said, hey, like, that's great, but you should do this. You should let this vendor in. You should shut down this street or do it this way. And what I was most struck by with working with Kelly is that she stuck to that vision. Yeah. So the first year was great. There were maybe 500 people that showed up. Last year was the fourth year, and there were 35,000 people. And so it is just taken off.
It's insane.
In that amount of time, there are even more armchair quarterbacks that have come alongside her to say, like, hey, you know what you should do is you should move it to Forest Park. Forest Park has a lot more space. You'd be able to, it wouldn't be as dense. The crowds wouldn't be crowded in as much. But you would lose the magic because it doesn't look like Seminary Park. Guess what? Peonies don't really grow in overly shady areas. Guess what? Forest Park is a forest.
Yeah.
There's no sun. So like your peonies wouldn't grow. Part of the reason why Kelly does this is she also wants to benefit downtown Noblesville. It's more of an indirect link than Seminary Park is, right? And so she does such a great job of like taking feedback and trying to tweak things to her advantage and the advantage of the festival. I know that like she's shut down a few more streets to allow more vendors in and make more of like a food destination. Like she's done it really well. But she does not let other people cloud her vision. And I think that's the challenge, right? It's like, how do you stay true to your vision, change it enough if it grows and it's successful? How do you do that as a business owner or running a festival? How do you balance both? And that's the hard part, right? Because it very easily is, when she started that, she could have compared herself to another festival or now, like they're being compared to other very successful festivals region-wide, like throughout the Midwest. How do you up your game without falling into that comparison trap? It's really hard.
Yeah. And I like that they wrote out a vision and they kind of stuck to it no matter what. I think that's so important. Pardon the momentary break. We had some dead batteries, but we're back. So we just filmed a podcast for another client, and he had an awesome motivational speaker as his guest. And I won't spoil that for them because we're probably preaching to the same audience around here. But he does sort of like consulting on culture and workplace environment for businesses. And he doesn't let them say our values or make that page on their website. He makes promises, because a lot of times when you go to do the work and you ramp up and you get busier than you've ever been, the first thing to go is culture. It's like you're working late nights, you're going to be miserable, just brace for impact pretty much. Whereas if you make promises, you're guaranteeing certain things to your team and yourself on this is how we're going to conduct business, this is how we're going to treat our team, this is how things are going to run. And part of that means we're going to be dedicated to the client first, and sometimes that means it's just going to be hard, right? And I thought that was such a good approach, is making promises, and part of that is promising yourself not to lose sight of this is the goal or this is the mission. And it sounds like Peony Festival has done a fantastic job of that. When this comes out, it will have just happened over the weekend, and we're looking forward to going for the first time. But yeah, I think that's huge, is promising yourself, here's why we're setting out on this mission, and it's not why somebody else did.
Right? Well, and as you grow, I think there's not only more pressure externally, but also internally to figure out how you morph and change. Right? And so, again, there are tons of people that love to be armchair quarterbacks, whether that's your own family, whether that's clients, outside influences. People will tell you how you should structure what you have, so that you have to balance that, but then also your internal structure too. When you are, because it's just natural to look at other businesses to see what they're doing, to have the confidence to know that you're growing in the way that you want to because of these reasons, right? So for me, I made the commitment that I'm going to build a business that I'm really proud of, that I'm going to work with the people that I want to on the topics that are interesting to me on my time frame, right? And so we don't take any clients that come our way, right? Like we are very specific in the ones that we work with because we want to establish long-term relationships and make them go the distance.
Yeah.
There are some that will work with anybody that comes their way. To your point about just like throwing out Facebook ads. At one point I did that.
Yeah.
Right. And as I was doing it, because I saw other people doing it. And so I fell into the trap.
Yeah.
And what I found was going through that, like the prospects that came my way were not ones that resembled any of the other work that I was doing and did not pivot in a direction that I wanted to go. And what I realized, to your point that you've already realized for yourself, my best clients come through the relationships that I already have.
Yeah.
So instead of spending any time on ads, I should spend that time getting to know more people that are outside of my spheres of influence.
Yeah.
Because that's where my business is going to come.
Right. And investing in your clients. Show up for the ribbon cutting, show up for the announcement or the launch. Or
send them flowers on their birthday.
Yeah. Whatever it is, because they're going to show up for you.
We did that for a client this morning. Right?
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, those are the small things that will pay dividends down the road.
Absolutely. And those they generate way better relationships. People who come in to work with you now know you for your reputation and for what you've done for somebody else, which is huge in laying the groundwork to have a trusted relationship. And you're not getting to know each other. You instantly have a starting off point on here's what we've done in the past. No, I think that's absolutely true.
Well, and to the point that we were already talking about, your business is very unique, so is mine. But also anybody can do video. Anybody can do the work that I'm doing, right? Like we would all go at it from a different way, but my goal is to be personable enough and invested enough in my clients that they know that I would be the first one to show up. And that when somebody else asks for someone that does what we do, that we are the first referral because they know that we care about what they're doing. Again, anybody can do the work that we do, but it's like how you go about it that I think is the important piece.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but I think it's also identifying the parts of the job that motivate you and making sure that you're sticking to that and that your whole business is sticking to that. And that the other people in your office are motivated to that, because then like change is bound to happen at some level, whether it's implementing AI and now you don't have to do these 5 tasks, or it's, hey, we keep getting asked about this. We should really think about adding that to our services. But you have to figure out the parts that you like. Why do you like that? Is that aligning with our mission, with what we want to do? Because if it's not, you're probably going to be miserable doing it. And just because a competitor or a colleague of yours is doing it doesn't mean you have to say yes. Another
interesting example, my pastor pastors a pretty big church in Hamilton County. The church has been in existence for, I don't know, about 25 years at this point. And that's a huge comparison trap. There are churches everywhere, right? Around here, but also regionally, throughout the nation. And it's really easy to see what another church is doing somewhere else. So a church is just one example, but that's the same type of business, right? Like you can look anywhere else and say like, well, we should run things that way. An example in the church, right? Like it's reliant on volunteers in order to run. The one church that they were looking at as an example is in the South. The way that people volunteer in the South is very different because football season comes in, and like we love football here, they love football in Alabama. Right? And so the way they recruit volunteers will not work here. Right? It's different. And so what he has done, I was talking to him last weekend, and he said, the temptation is to look outward and to be this big church that is trying to reach the entire central Indiana community. And he said, what has always worked for me is I just pastor the people that are put in front of me. If I take care of the people that are right in front of me, then hopefully that will spread and those people will take care of the people that are around them. I can't be a pastor to all of central Indiana. But if I just do a really good job with the people that are in front of me, that's all I'm called to do. And again, like whether that's the vision, whether it's making a festival that looks like, a European market threw up, it's very visual and you can see what you're going for. If you don't have that vision, it's going to be really easy to fall into the comparison trap.
Yeah. I think this happens a lot when you're looking at like community development as well. In small towns and cities all over the place.
Some medium-sized towns and cities.
Yeah. And I've heard over and over again, oh, we don't want to be the next this or that.
You can say it. We're here in Noblesville. It's fine. No, I'm incredibly biased. Yeah, Noblesville does it the best.
People say they don't want to be Hamilton County. They don't want to be Carmel. They don't want to be Noblesville. Like all of these things. It happens all the time. And I get where they're coming from. That's not their community. That's not what they want it to be. But then what do you want it to be, right? This recently happened on a project. We were all supposed to collaborate on a document, and instead of providing, hey, what if we did this? They just asked a question on every line. Well, what's supposed to happen here? And I was like, what do you think should happen here? We're making it out of nothing. Yes. So let me know your input. And I think that's the thing is you can say, well, I know I don't want to be that, but you have to say why, or, but I do want to be this, or let's take the parts of that work for us, even if it's just free public parking or we're gonna have great, mixed use buildings.
Correct. And knowing that it doesn't work, again, with parking is a great example. Everybody says, well, like Carmel Fishers and Westfield, they have free parking. Yeah, absolutely. They do. They're not the county seat. In the county seat, we've got the Hamilton County is great to work with, but that's a behemoth of an organization of people that are down here all day long. There are people that are coming and going downtown because they have to go to the courthouse, right? Like, the way that our downtown works is just very different from those other communities. So there are some ways that I view Carmel Fishers and Westfield as our competitors, but also I look to Greenfield and Plainfield and Plainfield might not be a county seat, Franklin, Indiana. I look to other county seats, Shelbyville, to see what they do because they've got old infrastructure. They've got parking problems. They've got, a square that's similar to ours. So like, how do they approach things? Right? Like, comparison, I don't think is bad.
Right.
But like, you've got to temper it in what you do.
Yeah, and I think you have to shoot for the best parts of yourself and understand that maybe we don't need to worry about these things because we know we're not going to do them as good as our neighbor, and they can have that. That's something I appreciate about Hamilton County is there's sort of an ecosystem of how you go to this town for this and this town for this. And you
come back to Noblesville to live, work, and play.
Yeah. And then you do everything in Noblesville at the end of the day.
Correct. Good answer.
No, but like, I think that you have to understand, here's my strengths, and I'm not going to try to compete in that because I don't want to be that. Nope. That's fine. And I think when people go to develop, whether it's their business, their community, their schools, their festivals, whatever it is, you have to know this is what we want to be. And if people want to go to a covered bridge festival, they can go to that. Correct. We're going to be the Peony Festival.
Yes.
And this is exactly what we're going to do. And hopefully people can go to all of the festivals in Indiana and get 100 different experiences.
Yeah, it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
All right, so taking that, now practical application. Say you fall into the comparison trap, or you have in the past. How do you get out of it? What's an example of, I shared one of mine, I'll try and think of another one from me, but like, when have you fallen into the comparison trap?
Yeah, totally. Often, right? We have competitors in Indy where we'll see something, especially when we were just getting started, and we would be like mind boggled of like, oh, we could do that better, right? We'd see something or, oh, we could do that. How do we get that job? And then we'd go pursue a job in that thing just to say, yeah, we did that, and I like how we did it more. Doesn't mean we enjoyed it.
Yep.
Right. And I think there's a lot of security in just having monetary security of, oh, we're making enough money to live now and we can afford to say no every now and then. So part of it is just getting yourself to a baseline where, you don't have to worry every month and say yes to everything. But also, write it down before you get there. Say when we're set, when we get to X number of retainers or revenue or people walking through our doors or having dinner at our restaurants, we're going to quit doing this. Or like, we'll never do this again once we get that security. And then once we get to X point, we're only doing this, and that's all we're ever going to do. So I think having those things written down, and as you go, form a note of, I really dislike this part of the job. or I really like that. And I really like how they did that, but it's going to cost $20,000 to get the infrastructure up to do it.
Yep.
And I want to be in a place to do that when we hire our first person. Or I think setting those benchmark goals, right? And we're getting into a point where it's like, okay, we can start upgrading things and making systems so that things can operate a little bit more smoothly. But yeah, I mean, we were in the comparison trap a lot when we were balancing school and work. Because it seemed like there were all these things we wanted to do that we saw people we know doing, but there wasn't enough time in the day. And now that we're secured and settled in what we do, we love exactly the services we offer, and anything we don't, it's starting to be cut it or find somebody else to do it, to outsource.
And that's it, right? Like you and I were talking about it this morning. Right? Like I love the digital side of things. I love the relationship side of things. I'm a freak, and I love the crisis communications side of things. Like I love to jump in the mud and get dirty with clients that have issues that are going on. Like I want to help them solve it. There are other parts of the job that I've taken on just because I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. That I'm the natural go-to on the team because I know how to do it and I've done it in the past. My challenge right now is to figure out, okay, I think that we can still keep that under our umbrella, but how do I go from being the guy to be the one managing the guy that's doing it, right? Like, how do I give somebody else the opportunity? To your point, like, I don't need to fly a drone anymore. Like, I like to fly a drone, sure. Like, I'll go out and do it if we need to, but how do I give somebody else the opportunity to go out and maybe practice it if it's something that they want to do? I don't have to own it all the time. And that's a step that I'm trying to make right now, is go from being the technical operator to being the team leader. And it is a hard step to take.
And I mean, I think we talked about this last week. I think there's no cooler feeling than having us as an organization own something. It's not just me or just the one person I work with. We have a whole team that put together a better product than we ever could have done on our own. Or 10 times the products we ever could have put out on our own. And that's really, really big. It's still owning it. It's just owning it in a different way. And understanding that, like, what is in your head is not the only right way to get something done too.
I think for me, when I fall into the trap, the best way that I have found to get out of it and mitigate falling in is to have accountability. We've talked about accountability before, whether that's in mentors. I'm accountable to them. I'm accountable to business partners that I work with. I also am accountable to the people that report to me, right? And so what I love in our organization is that we've got free-flowing direction in both ways, always, right? And so my business partner and I will talk through issues that we're working on, but then some of the best feedback I get are people that work and directly report to me that say, like, why are we doing this again? Right. And so, like, when there's people out there that have the best interest of you and your business in mind, that can help you identify if you've said yes to and you're like in a trap. Why are you doing it? Right. Because if you don't have that accountability as a business owner, it's only going to set you up for long-term failure.
Right. Yeah. Well, and make a commitment to yourself, make a commitment to the people around you. And it will pay off and keep you honest. And then just find great people to work with. If you're not ready to hire somebody, that's fine, but find a subcontractor, work out a deal to, throw money each other's ways when you get each other referrals. And that's something that I need to do a better job at.
Well, and like acknowledging the failure too. Like, I know that, I think I've said it here before, but like, I knew that I wanted to scale, that I could not do it on my own anymore. So I tried an army of interns. That didn't work. I mean, it was fine, but it didn't work for like long-term success. I tried a few part-time employees. That worked, but that was the first time I actually had to fire somebody. That was really hard, right? Then I went and made the decision to hire someone full-time, and that was good. Like, there were a lot of pros that came along with that. At the same time, I went and partnered with another business that said, like, hey, what if like our teams go after big projects together? And it was great. I mean, there were hard parts always. You know, when you pull other people in, it's naturally going to be hard. But I found so much success personally, but also professionally. I learned from them along the way. But we were also like, I've never been more profitable than when I do that. I think there are times that people view the risk as too much of a detriment when really it can open up more doors than it closes. You just have to be willing to take the risk.
Yeah, and I think Emily and I are about to hit so many of those benchmarks and start experimenting with so many of those things. It'll be interesting to see, you know, where this plays and where burnout plays and where all of these things, you know, what kind of freedom is important to me as a business owner. Mm-hmm. All those things will start to change when our team gets bigger, when our structure changes a little bit, when so much of our business is sort of changing and adapting and about to change. It's really exciting to think, you know, what story will I have to bring to the table in a year? Which model will work for us? Is it going to be a subcontractor or a partnership with another business or a part-time employee or a full-time employee? And I'm really excited to face those challenges, and maybe not excited to have to fire somebody one day.
But it will happen, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. Any organization, the people that you started with are not going to be the people 5-10 years in. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless they're your wife.
Yes. Right. That is a little different. Yeah. Bronwyn and I would kill each other. So that's not our setup. But it is true. Like, and I think some people view that as a failure. I know that I did when I had to fire my first employee, but that's not necessarily it. You're just trying to figure out how you make yourself grow and do it in the right way. That's why I'm really excited for season 2. Because I learn best with conversations with other people. Yeah. And so I think that talking to some other people, that whether it's a peony festival or a business that they've grown, sold, closed, right? However they've scaled. I'm really excited to dig in and learn from other people along the way.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway is don't compare, take notes.
Ooh, there you go. That's the title.
There's the title.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself, but take notes when other people are doing things well.
Yeah. Or stupid.
Or stupid. That's just as important as to acknowledge like that doesn't work. We never want to be that, right?
Correct.
And then don't be afraid to try things every time.
Cool.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.